YouTube says it has had enough of vaccine misinformation on its site.
And false stories from phony sites to run circles around major news outlets.
Many people don't know the difference between something real and something created to deceive them.
Open your eyes.
If you've ever had this feeling that something was terribly wrong with the world that we live in, but you couldn't figure out just what it was, then you've come to the right place. Secret societies, mystery religions, and the Illuminati have been controlling our reality since the beginning of time. But not anymore, because there is an awakening happening, and you are about to become a part of it. Wake up, because this is a call for an uprising.
We are coming on the air with breaking news right now and an update on conservative activist Charlie KIRK. President Trump says that KIRK has died after he was shot from a nearby building about 200 yards away while he was speaking at Utah Valley University. Here is the Trump the president has just put out. I want to put this up. He posted it on Truth Social. He writes, "The great and even legendary Charlie KIRK is dead. No one understood or had the heart of the youth in the United States of America better than Charlie. He was loved and admired by all, especially me, and now he is no longer with us. Melania and my sympathies go out to his beautiful wife, Erica, and family. Charlie, we love you." This is also important. The school is now saying there is no suspect in custody after they previously said that one was.
Yeah, I know that it's somewhat object of mockery to say thoughts and prayers, but thoughts and prayers for his family. They need it from all of us. And Jesse's right. If they could do this, they are capable of anything. I think that was the message. I believe that was the message. It's really hard to radicalize Republicans.
Yeah.
You know, it's like we're not the radical type. But if you thought that you were going to shut a movement down, you're going to get a rude awakening. You woke us the fuck up.
This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. We are already seeing the instant response from the media. The media is calling for blood. The media is provoking civil war. As you heard, the media, Fox News media, controlled media, as all the media on your television set is, saying you woke us the F up. This event that the government staged is going to have a profound effect on the laws and the rules moving forward, including AI governance and surveillance. But really, we have to look at the red flag laws. We have to look at the stories that come out about the shooter, because, of course, they're leaving us in suspense. They're letting this build inside of you. Everybody is hostile towards one another, as I'll show you in this video. This is important to see how people respond to these things, and they're responding even more insanely than I expected. I didn't think people would be this insanely emotionally invested in a alt-right media pundit getting assassinated. But when you get assassinated in front of everybody's face and they show it to you on television or show it to you on the news or wherever you're picking up your news from, it has a profound effect on the psychosis. So as of me recording this, all they've said is that they have a person of interest in custody. So person of interest, obviously, we take a look at that terminology because person of interest, not a man or a woman in custody. And we're all thinking the same thing, I'm sure, in regards to transgender shooter. That's the government's calling card. Now, they might not use it in this case. They might use a pro-Palestine shooter event. I mean, let's be real. We are on the eve of September 11th, and what better day for the Mossad to operate a really, really big false flag / psychological operation than on the eve of their greatest false flag operation, which was in fact September 11th. So before we delve into the narratives and whether we delve into if it was real, if it was fake, let's look at some of the interesting things that occurred here. The announcement of Charlie KIRK's death came from the President of the United States of America. Donald Trump made the announcement, and all the headlines came from all the media outlets saying Trump says right-wing activist Charlie KIRK has died, and Trump made that statement that you heard earlier mentioned in the video. No one understood or had the heart of the youth in the United States of America better than Charlie. He was loved, admired by all. Well, agree to disagree as far as having the understanding of the heart of the youth. These people have control of the minds of the youth on the left and the right, and that is the problem, the left-right paradigm. So Trump was the one who announced his death, and then interestingly enough, what was trending on X/Twitter was that term, enough is enough. Remember that from the Illuminati card game, which is best known for that September 11th, those two twin towers exploding and the Pentagon in the card game. Also best known for this enough is enough card, which came out in the 90s and depicts clearly Donald Trump, as you can clearly see on your screen. So Charlie Kirk's death is going to be a major talking point. Major laws are going to be passed. We're going to see massive events occurring. We're going to see the flip. Remember the seesaw I always talk about. We're going to see the conservatives take to the streets now. We're going to see more of the conservatives becoming activists. We are going to see this civil war they've told us about and teased for years and years and years. They've told us this is coming. These stories that you quietly hear about states like Florida getting rid of vaccine mandates, what do you think they're there for? You think DeSantis cares about your kids? You don't think he's a puppet of Israel? Those stories are there. They're hurting mechanisms. Conservative red states are going to make it so appealing for you to move there. Well, you might look at it now and say, I don't need to move. I love my home. They're going to make it so appealing when those Democrat states make it so undesirable to remain there. When they make more vaccine mandates, when they tell you can't have a job unless you get vaccinated, when they tell you have to wear a mask again, when they tell you they're going to enforce climate laws. You might pick up and you might actually go when they tell you that you have to ration your electricity. So this civil war has been brewing. I've been talking about it for almost a decade. But we look at some of the stuff they release, okay? They show us again, just like they showed us with Trump's assassination attempt, his government-created assassination attempt. That was a operation of the government. There's no way, just like, and, they're trying to tell you in this event that Charlie Kirk didn't have any security. You believe that? Let me be clear with you real fast, okay? I'm anonymous. I used to have a big following. If I ever became non-anonymous and went out to speak, I would have had a massive amount of security with me because of the threats that people would send me all the time. And I wasn't even talking too harshly about anybody in particular. I was talking about Satanism and the occult. And yes, we know the LGBTQ plus gets all excited if you're not on their side and they want attention. So if you were Charlie Kirk, you don't think you would have had massive amounts of security with the amount of money that he makes? He has a massive media corporation. He's worth millions of dollars and he has 2 little children. So I would think that he'd have security there. So let's get rid of that narrative now that there was no security there. He probably had just as much security and has just as much security as the Secret Service, as all of the alt-right media do. All of these people who are the controllers, they are the influencers. They have a major part in everything that's about to go down. So they show us all this stuff with the roof, saying that the shooter's there, is the shooter. And of course the debate's going to be, was anybody really shot, right? Now, people get upset when they hear that because they saw it with their own eyes, but you don't know what you're seeing with your own eyes. DARPA's technology is so advanced, they can make you believe anything on the you say, well, somebody filmed it with their phone. Well, you don't know what they could potentially have done or the people holding the phones who put the footage out, because there's only about a handful of people who have videos out there, even though every time we see somebody at a concert, every single person is recording. There's only a handful of videos out there that show the actual shooting to his neck. You would think there would be at least like 200, 300 videos of that happening. But nonetheless, there's people who are going to get upset about that. They don't like to hear that things like that can be fake. They don't like to hear about clones. They don't like to hear about doubles. They don't like to hear about these actual events not being real. So what we need to look at is the why. Because I can only debate so much about was it real, was it not. A lot of the times, these people don't die. They can very easily fake an assassination attempt and send somebody off to live the rest of their days in Israel. If you look at some of the pictures, this is the debate that's out there, and I'll do it in another video if you want to break down, does it look real, does it not? Obviously, the first time you see it, you're going to think it's real. Well, of course you are. You see it from a phone that's zoomed out, then it zooms in. You see his neck going back and blood squirting out. But look at these little things that you have to pick up on. For those of you that are new to all this stuff with AI has a really tough time generating fingers. Now, I doubt that DARPA's AI, our AI that they plan on using in the future, messes up like this, but the AI they've released to us has a very difficult time with fingers, right? And they don't care if they carelessly do stuff like this. In fact, they like to leave little breadcrumbs so that people do debate whether the person was killed or whether they whether it was faked, whether it was a psyop, whether it was a false flag. They like the fact that it's debated. They don't like you actually questioning if the news is real or not. That's what they don't want you talking about. But if you look at his fingers, you could clearly see that his ring on his finger moves to his pinky finger. It moves down as he's actually shot. If you count his fingers, you could see that very clearly. So that's the debate that's out there, because the AI struggles to actually make hands. If you've seen some of my thumbnails, the hands look very strange if I use Grok, because sometimes I do just to use it so it's easier than putting all these pieces together of an image. I've used it before in thumbnails on YouTube to try to use their technology against them so that more people see the video or, see the thumbnail, want to click on it, because really that's how it all starts to get people led to your channel. The thumbnail is really important. So I know for a fact that they can't do fingers. So that's one of the debates that's out there. But really for me, okay, it's not about the debate whether or not he's alive or dead. This is 100% a government operation. It's a government operation by how the responses that immediately occur, how the news media immediately starts covering it. Like I showed you in my previous video, immediately talking about how he was specifically talking about transgender people as the bullet hit him. Another, some of the crisis actors or some of the real people who were there were also talking about how he was specifically talking about transgenders as he got shot and talking about gun laws and transgenders, right? They wanted bullet points out there. There's a lot of calling cards that they leave, but what we have to look at is the actual response to these events. You see, I'm not emotional because I don't believe anybody dies in these events. And I'm not emotional because obviously I don't know these people. If you watch how people are responding to this, you can see how deep they are into this. They think these people are their friends. There's people out, if you've gone out in public today, they're talking about this like they know these people. And again, that's part of the psychological operation. They are emotionally invested in this. But I personally don't actually think these things occur. Now, people don't understand what that means. Well, what it means is that they carry out these events, like filming a movie in real time, in front of you, live, almost like reality TV, but not. That's what these people actually do. Now, is there a chance that they actually turned on him and assassinated? Well, of course. These types of people would kill their own children. We know that for a fact. How many celebrities have we seen who have mysterious deaths surrounding their children? They would kill their own kids. So don't tell me that they wouldn't kill Charlie Kirk if it was for a greater good and a greater cause, which we'd be bringing in all these new laws, the anti-Semitism stuff that they'll attach to this, since a lot of the pictures they were showing on the news were Charlie Kirk wearing a yarmulke, right? But what was the other thing that we saw? Well, we saw the left being glad that he's dead and the right wanting revenge, the right wanting blood. That's the response that came out of this. People saying, you said this, you said that. Everybody in the internet's upset. If somebody out there was applauding that he got shot, how dare them? I want to, go after them and beat them up. Well, they say worse than that, but you catch my point. And what people need to understand as to why they fake these events is because this is the only way you'd bring in real change. Look how people are responding to this stuff. They need the people to accept the change. If none of this stuff was going on, if September 11th didn't happen and they tried to pass the Patriot Act, people would have been aware. They needed September 11th, among other things, for the sacrifice that was committed, so they could bring in the Patriot Act. So people couldn't say, well, all this stuff with TSA, all this stuff with spying in our homes, all this stuff with the NSA. Why do we need this? People would have pushed back against this. Absolutely not. So they created the event, problem, reaction, solution. All these false flags have a purpose. Nobody would care about the guns. Democrats wouldn't care about the guns if they didn't see all these stories about school shootings constantly. That's part of their game. They're making you want the change. And when they show you an actual event, when they show it to you in front of your eyes, there's something about that that's going to affect you. Everybody remembers seeing the footage of JFK when he was assassinated, or whatever your take is on that. We don't need to get into, right? We saw the footage of JFK down and to the, what does it do? It provokes emotion. Watching this, we're seeing people completely, and it's just like Trump. When they saw Trump, I said at the time the psychosis was going to be next level. It's beyond next level. It's beyond what I even thought it would be. I thought people would start questioning it. No, because they saw it, and they saw it in real time. They were sitting on their couch or somewhere and saw it, and they jumped out of their seats. They couldn't believe it. Just like this. Watching somebody get shot, I mean, it's not an everyday occurrence in the world. You don't see people get shot every day, but at the same time, you can't prove one way or the other if any of these people get shot. Just because it's on a television, just because it trends on Twitter doesn't mean they were shot. Now, it makes more sense after I did my first video and processed it that they actually killed Charlie Kirk, or they actually removed him from the picture. Let's say that. Because whether he's dead or alive, no one will ever really know. Because, you're not going to see a casket. You're not going to dig him out from underground. And you're not going to be over in Israel, where a lot of these guys go and carry out their days doing, Mossad operations. This guy is a member of the CIA. All of the media are members of the CIA. So the Mossad, the CIA, it's one and the same. They just get shipped over there, and they got new operations to carry out. Maybe he didn't want to be on TV anymore, or, all over the place. He's got 2 little kids. Maybe he said, you know what? Let's do this. Maybe this was the plan for him all along, to make him this huge figure and then to martyr him. But if they actually had him get shot and live, it actually might have affected this in the opposite way. Because people might have actually said, another conservative guy gets shot by a Democrat close to his ear and his neck, they missed, and he survives. Well, the fact that he's no longer here has really ignited this fire. So he is your martyr. And of course, RFK even tweeted out, because of course they're going to connect this to JFK's assassination. They're going to connect this to Martin Luther King. That's what they're going to do. They're martyring him. They're creating their hero for you. As Albert Pike said, when the people need a hero, we will provide them that hero. And he's going to be the hero for the right. He's going to be the name and the focal point you hear for change and justice, and eventually these Noahide laws, which I'll talk about in a few minutes. But RFK saying, once again, a bullet has silenced the most elegant truth teller of an era. My dear friend Charlie Kirk was our country's relentless and courageous crusader for free speech. I agree to disagree, but that's the image they want to present. And now he's your martyr. And as Benny Johnson said, Charlie Kirk is an American martyr. The alt-right media is already pumping this out. And what are the Democrats saying? Well, the Democrats are saying this is the greatest thing ever. Enough is enough. Charlie Kirk was your death of false flag, douchebag, F guns, F you for fighting the wrong side. You got what was coming to you, you piece of crap. Which again, is real psychosis when people out there cheering for other people to be dead. But this is what they've built. This is what they've created with narcissism, with putting people on pedestals, with creating division among the people. Having a difference of opinion no longer is having a difference of opinion. If you have a difference of opinion, that person is now your enemy for life. And we see people turn on their own families over this type of stuff, right? People out there saying this generation, Charlie Kirk was the most important conservative political figure, voice for Gen Alpha, Gen Z, younger millennials. This generation just woke up and said enough is enough. And people like this, if you're celebrating the slaying of Charlie Kirk on the trend of he's dead, you should be rounded up with the rest of the domestic terrorist Democrats. I'm utterly effing done even trying to debate with the left. All of them are terrorists. And that's why they create these events, folks, because that's how they expect you and want you to react to it. And if you're in their game, they know how you're going to react to an event like this. And this guy is saying, you know what? Enough talking. It's time for war. Here's somebody else. Enough's enough. Talking's over. America needs action. We the people want arrests. They want prosecutions. They want convictions, right? Libs of TikTok, another operative of the government. You think that this is just some organic person on TikTok with all these views, and then they put them on Fox News and they pump them up and they pretend that they're martyred. Oh, TikTok is censored. Are they? Still probably one of the biggest influencers on TikTok. No, they're not. They pretend to be, right? That's what they all do. Tucker Carlson, etc. They're not, obviously. So calling for war, Alex Jones chiming in. This person needs to be investigated because somebody tweeted out, Charlie Kirk is coming to my college tomorrow. I really hope someone evaporates him, literally. Let's just say something big will happen tomorrow. So you're seeing the alt-right media trying to ignite their audience. This is why they killed Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk talking about socialists and this disease that they have, this hive mind, even though conservatives are in the same exact hive mind. Benny Johnson talking about how on MSNBC, these people are blaming Charlie Kirk for the shooting of Charlie Kirk, right? That's the kind of thing that's got people mad. Elon Musk, of course, chiming in. They're all chiming in because it's the game. The left is the party of murder. Plant these seeds in their minds. This is what they're doing. How about this? This might have been the funniest thing. Because we're speaking about all of these actors, right? In Congress, Republican Lauren Boebert, someone I always mention, right? One of the biggest operatives there is, would never be in Congress unless they didn't want this actor in place. Well, she's requested a moment of prayer for Charlie Kirk. And of course, Democrats are heard yelling no in Congress, like high school, because that's what your Congress is. And these people are all actors, and they're the ones causing all of this. Matt Walsh, thank God the man was caught. We don't know who he is yet, but he was caught Now punish him in the most severe possible way. We want justice for Charlie Kirk. So now you're hearing hints about not just arresting people, killing people. Are you seeing where we're going with this? Here's another conservative talking head. Fight, fight, fight. I knew Charlie Kirk well enough to know exactly how he would tell us to handle it. Evil leftists want to be terrorized and defeated. Don't let Charlie's passing make you back down. Use it as fuel. That's what Charlie would want. To fight, fight, fight. Somebody else. Death penalty is the only solution because that's what we're headed towards. Death penalty, right? Noahide laws. Do you remember this week the story I covered, which couldn't have been faker, of the girl getting stabbed on that train? If you didn't watch that video, you should watch it. It's on the website, okay? Woman stabbed, doesn't scream, looks in people's eyes around her, doesn't moan, doesn't yell. Guy walks around. It's one of the fakest things we've ever possibly seen. Well, what happens right after that? Well, Donald Trump, Charlie Kirk, they're all on TV saying that the media won't cover this. Trump saying, no, we want a quick trial and we should get the death penalty for him. And that's all the alt-right media is talking about this week, the death penalty. You know why? Because if you're not paying attention, Donald Trump's bringing in the Noahide laws. And I'm sorry to break it to Christians out there who don't understand what's actually happening. The Noahide laws are not beneficial to followers of Jesus Christ. You're going to have to make a decision eventually. If you can follow the synagogue of Satan or you're going to follow Christ. Because this is all set up for you to denounce your faith in Christ. Because they're going to criminalize Christians who follow the Bible, who follow certain teachings in the Bible. And if you didn't know, violating any of the 7 commandments can potentially lead to execution under the Noahide laws. Now, the other thing we need to look at when these events happen, we look at the footage, we look at the talking heads. I will obviously cover the narrative in the media. There's going to be the same talking points. We've already heard a few. Turning Point is one of the talking points. That's this company. They're using a Turning Point for America. There's going to be a lot of talking points, just like divine intervention with Trump's assassination. But we got to look at skeptical behavior. Behavior that makes you go, huh? Now, Benny Johnson and Charlie Kirk are butt buddies. Benny Johnson, America will never be the same. Charlie Kirk tweeted out less than 24 hours after he was supposedly assassinated, America will never be the same. Showing a picture of that girl sitting on that train right before she's fake stabbed. And Charlie Kirk and all these guys are calling for the death penalty to be brought back in. He says America will never be the same. I wonder if he knew the 24 hours later that he would actually be the face, along with this girl who will get, won't get much media attention. But the narrative is going to start to change about how to criminalize these people. And it's not going to be get them in jail. No, because the system's failed. They keep throwing them out. No, they are going to want public execution via beheading. And we know where that goes in Scripture. Now, the other thing with skeptical behavior is the wife. Any one of us can look at this, and of course, there's going to be people who go, well, everybody behaves differently in a crisis, okay? But I'll tell you one thing you don't do. You don't make 30 tweets in less than 4 hours after your husband is assassinated right in front of everybody. We don't want to say on national television, but I mean, it's all over national television, okay? The supposed video clips are everywhere. So we could say maybe she wasn't there with her kids. She's all over social media, and we lost him. She's making the ass. Okay, you might say, oh, that's a little strange. I mean, she's not grieving, right? Your husband's just going to work, gets shot in the head, and you get to watch it on video, and you're thinking about going on social media just to say, we lost him, right? Now, I know we live in a narcissistic world where everybody wants attention, but how about all the other tweets? She keeps retweeting stuff. Is she with her kids? I mean, look, suspicious behavior you always look at. That's what police do. That's what we have to do, right? We got to look at it like a true crime investigation. You got to look at how people behave around you. I mean, we got to keep an eye out on the wife and the kids and see if they even remain in America. Somebody needs to find out they sell their house. Maybe they'll head over to Israel, right? Or we'll probably never hear from them again. They'll maybe be activists for their husband and change. I'm sure she'll come out in the media with the 2 kids, play on people's heartstrings, always doing that with children. But she was just constantly retweeting stuff from MAGA Voice. Oh, the White House flags are at half-mast. This is what Charlie Kirk was wearing today. This is what he fought for every day. We'll never forget. Freedom, folks. Retweeting what the White House is tweeting out. I mean, over and over and over. And keep in mind, the announcement was not made online by Charlie Kirk's wife. It was made by Donald Trump. That's the source of confirmation of his death. All the media was sitting there saying nothing. Well, we don't know what's going on. Until Donald Trump tweeted it out. And then everybody said, Donald Trump has just tweeted out. Donald Trump has tweeted out. Donald Trump has posted on True. So Donald Trump has announced that Charlie Kirk is dead. Right? So maybe Trump knew before even the wife actually knew. Now, the other thing I mentioned was September 11th. I mean, we can't not mention it. Most of you know that Charlie Kirk is a shill for Israel, as all of these guys are, even if they pretend that they're not on board. If they're interviewing the president, if they're on national TV, that's how this goes, okay? That's who's funding them. That's who's behind them. It's not, oh, there's donors in the Israel is funding all of it. And this was a tweet from somebody from InfoWars. He said, I'm not going to name names, but I was told by someone close to Charlie that Charlie thinks Israel will kill him if he turns against it. But we know InfoWars is controlled up, but they're putting this narrative out there now that the Mossad may have done it. Or was it the Democratic deep state and the trans? There's multiple narratives about who possibly could have done it. But they want you to think that Charlie might have been turning on those people that he claims to have supported. And I don't believe that for a second, but I think it's interesting that that narrative with Israel is front and center. Because as soon as we find out who the shooter is, they're going to bring these little government CIA taglines into it. Pro-Palestine, anti-Israel, right? He shot him because he's an anti-Semite, and Charlie Kirk supported Israel, and he hates Jews, right? If you watch all the news clips, he's wearing yarmulkes in most of the photos, and it's September 10th that he shot. And everybody knows who's responsible for September 11th. The other thing is this South Park thing. Now, we all know about predictive programming with The Simpsons. For anyone out there who doesn't know, Charlie Kirk was featured on South Park, and you might say, well, how do you know? Do you watch that? No, I don't. This was blasted everywhere. Everywhere I went, I was getting recommended videos about it. I didn't watch any of them, but I remember seeing it. Charlie Kirk is on South Park, right? So after he's assassinated today, there's articles out there, MAGA pointing fingers at South Park after Charlie Kirk's assassination. So I looked into it. What happens to him on South Park? They just make fun of him. Of course, they make fun of Christians, right? But he also gets attacked at an event that looks very similar to this, what he's doing. Now, Charlie Kirk doesn't just speak under tents on college campuses. He speaks at the Republican National Convention. He speaks on stages. He goes all around the country and does this stuff. On the show, he was speaking on a college campus, and people were debating him about transgender and all this stuff. And then he got punched in the face and got assaulted, right? So that's interesting that that episode came out a month ago with Charlie Kirk in it. We know there's no such thing as coincidence. Now, he wasn't shot, but if he was shot on the show and this happened, you would be getting way too many people waking up, and they're not going to have that. And keep in mind, the creators of South Park are massive, massive gun advocates. If you don't remember Bowling for Columbine, this was one of the big propaganda pieces they put out after Columbine, another government operation, right? Michael Moore interviewing people, Satanists, all of them talking about who the enemy is. The enemy's not the media. The enemy's not video games. The enemy is the NRA, right? When in fact, it's the opposite. It's the opposite. They're creating violent people through promoting things like, Grand Theft Auto, for example, or promoting people like Marilyn Manson, who also appeared in that film. And what were they saying? They were saying that, children and violence, and we need to get to the bottom of it. And the bottom of it, really, what they were saying is that, well, guns and the NRA is the problem, right? So what a coincidence that they just had Charlie Kirk in their episode, and he's assassinated a month after being in that episode. They made a huge deal about him being in it. I don't know why anybody would care, but apparently they did. They couldn't believe their hero, Charlie Kirk, was getting mocked, right? It was announced everywhere. It was all over CNN. It was on the main page. Charlie Kirk mocked on CNN. Well, they wanted you to know. That's why. They wanted you to know. They wanted you to tune in, not just for ratings. They wanted you to see Charlie Kirk getting assaulted at one of his college campus debates. And there you go. Not only did he get assaulted, he was supposedly executed. So we have a lot of narratives out there. Is it real? Is it not? What we have to pay attention to is obviously what comes of it. We all know, at least you guys should know, the calling cards are there. The talking points are there. They are calling for civil war now. That's what Fox News is screaming about. We want blood. We want vengeance. Everybody on social media, just watch how they respond. That's what the government does. The data centers, we're the data. Go online and speak your mind so they can watch what you're thinking and control your thoughts by creating events and telling you that they're real. So what are we seeing? Democrats saying they're glad he's dead. Republicans wanting their blood for saying that he's dead. And the same conservatives who are for free speech are under such a psychosis that they're actually calling for censorship on people who are cheering for someone to be dead. I mean, look, if somebody shot me in the head, okay, and I was dead, I can guarantee you I wouldn't care if people were mocking my death and saying, I'm so glad that he's dead. And I wouldn't want any of my friends or any of my family members to give a crap about what people say. And that's how people really should be behaving. But this is what they've created by design, because this is how they're able to control people's emotions, by showing them fake events and telling them it's real, making people believe they're seeing assassination attempts, people not even understanding the type of technology that they have and how easily they can fake these things. People think they're like, what are they going to do? Just grab a blood packet? You know, no way. It looked a lot realer than that. Well, I understand it looked real. You don't think when I looked at it that I didn't think it? I still look at it and see the footage and say it's pretty realistic. I don't doubt how realistic it looks. I doubt what I see when it's presented to me from people I don't trust. Just like I wouldn't trust the milkman or the milkman, they don't exist. The ice cream truck, right? If I had kids, I wouldn't trust the ice cream truck driver around my kid. I don't trust media that's fed to me. I don't trust any stories that are given to me. And if you know the history of the CIA, this is what they do. They mass produce the news. It's more than mockingbird media. It's deeper. It's the stories. Look at the response. That's what I tell everyone. Look at the response of everybody out there. They are going nuts over this. And you know what that should tell us? That they have these people in the palm of their hands. And civil war might be inevitable. We have to keep an eye on that. We have to keep an eye on Noahide laws. If you start hearing more and more stuff, and I know I haven't mentioned it a lot, but, you know, keep that in the front of your mind. If you start hearing these conservatives start talking about execution and death penalty, and I'm not opposed, okay, to, you know, private justice. I'm not. What I'm opposed to is knowing what this is leading to. The Noahide laws are in place, and the death penalty is your, you know, that's the sentence that you get if you break the Noahide laws. And then the Noahide laws, suddenly you're not allowed to worship Jesus anymore because Jesus, you know, blames the Pharisees and speaks against Israel because, you know, the ADL says it, okay, on their webpage about, you know, Christians and Christians being anti-Semitic. So that's what's coming. Okay. I'm not opposed to the death penalty. If somebody commits murder, I mean, eye for an eye, you know, I mean, do I believe they should be in jail on our tax money? No, I don't. You know, they should get worse. Somebody who rapes and kills kids? Absolutely not. I think they should be killed on the spot. Why? Well, if you kill them on the spot in front of everybody, then everybody knows. Whoa, that's what happens if I kill and rape a kid? Well, maybe they'll think twice about it. But what do they hear? Well, they hear that, these guys, they don't have jobs anyway. Now they end up in jail. For the rest of their lives, maybe they'll get parole. Got it pretty good, right? They got nothing going on. He was going to get evicted anyway. Well, if they knew, and they're like, well, I'm going to go after this, you know, rape this child, but I'm going to get my penis cut off in time, you know, in town square tonight. And then I'm going to get, you know, myself bladed with razor blades. And then I'm going to get hung on a tree. Well, maybe he wouldn't do it. So I'm for that from that standpoint. But I'm not for the Noahide laws. And I'm not for what you're going to see the media calling for on the conservative side. This is going to get very, very interesting. I'm going to cover it when we find out about the shooter. I expect the same calling cards. I think it might be a little too obvious if it's a trans shooter. I'm thinking more of the Palestine, Israel narrative than the trans narrative. They just did the trans. I mean, they can't have people questioning if the news is fake or real. Now, the way that looked, if you watch it one time, you're not going to question if the news is real or not because you just see a guy getting shot in the neck and you're jumping back and you don't want to see it again, right? I mean, you probably don't want to see it twice or three times. People crying, people emotional, people thinking about his kids, right? So they're not going to question this, but that's where they have to walk a fine line. Do we have another trans shooter? Does it become too obvious? Does he leave a manifesto? Huh? Does he have a little notes? Does he have a YouTube channel? Well, we'll find out. They're keeping everyone in suspense by design. And when they let this out, I mean, this is like a kettle that's been boiling and it's just overblown. And now the house is going to explode. And they've done this to these people, all of them who don't realize they're in the psychosis. They are so deep in this, just from the idol worship of how they're responding to someone who they don't know who's getting killed. Now, nobody wants to see anybody get killed. I get that, right? Let's just say it's real. The way they're responding to it, it's as if they knew him. There's people crying online. There's people, putting the way they speak about somebody they don't even know. Why? Because he has the same ideologies. This is what they've created. It's the left side and the right side. And guess what? Me, you, likely, who listen to me, aren't on either. Because we're not in the game. We're not in the matrix. And if you're in the matrix, that means you believe in the left-right paradigm. And that means that all these events they control are going to be based on the left and the right. Keep you divided. And to bring in all of this surveillance, to bring in all of these Noahide laws, to bring in all the red flag laws, which will be used against conspiracy theorists in the future. So pay attention to all of it. We got so many bizarre things, but we got it on the eve of September 11th, huh? Well, that tells you who's behind it anyway. Whether the operation's real or fake, whether it's false flag or just a psyop. Yeah, you guessed it. Same people on the eve of September 11th who were behind September 11th. Same ones behind all of these psyops, right? Remember, by the way, I played that clip from 60 Minutes of the Mossad where they say that they make the news.
They didn't know that they were buying it from Israel.
Who did they buy it from, or think they were buying it from?
We have an incredible array of possibilities of creating foreign companies that have no way being traced back to Israel. Shell companies over shell companies who affect the supply chain to our favor. We create a pretend world. We are a global production company. We write the screenplay. We're the directors. We're the producers. We're the main actors. The world is our stage.
Right? Well, they weren't kidding. I thank everybody for being here. Hope you're all doing well. God bless you and your families as always.